Look at Matty, always scribbling in that notebook. Uncle Joe guffawed, spraying bits of pot roast across the Formica. Kid's got his head so far in the clouds, he can't see the mop right under his nose. Just like his old man. The table erupted in tipsy laughter, my extended family yucking it up at my expense for the millionth time. Mom shot me a pained smile, her waitress uniform already rumpled from a double shift. Dad just hunched further over his plate, knuckles white around his fork. But I barely heard them over the whirring gears in my mind, the sparks of ideas crackling through my synapses. They could laugh all they wanted. One day, the schematics cramped in the margins of my calculus book would change the world. One day, I'd wipe those condescending smirks right off their blue-collar faces. I pushed back from the table, chair screeching across the linoleum. "Gotta study," I mumbled, ignoring the fresh wave of guffaws as I escaped to the relative peace of my closet-sized bedroom. But peace was the last thing I found as I slumped against the door, fists clenched, jaw aching. Every atom of my being burned with the need to prove them wrong, to shove my success down their crowing throats. I pulled out my battered notebook, flipping past the water stains and grease smudges to my latest design. A miniaturized combustion engine, twice as efficient and half as expensive as anything on the market. With this baby under the hood, even the most rundown junker could leave a Tesla in the dust. It was genius. It was revolutionary. And according to my prick of a science teacher, it was unrealistic and fundamentally unsound. Well, fuck him and the secondhand Prius he rode in on. I'd show them all. I'd turn this half-baked sketch into a real, working prototype. I'd secure the patent, take it to market, and ride the revenue stream all the way out of this podunk town. And when I was rich and famous, when my face graced magazine covers and my tech changed the game, maybe then they'd see me as more than the janitor's kid with his head in the clouds. Maybe then they'd realize the depths of the mistake they'd made writing me off. But I was done waiting for their approval, their validation. I had work to do. A dream to build from the ground up. And nothing, not narrow minds or empty wallets or family fucking pot roast, was going to stand in my way. 10 years later, I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of Halcyon HQ, the gleaming Silicon Valley headquarters of the startup I'd built from scratch. Below, a bustling bullpen of engineers coded furiously, their faces bathed in the blue glow of cutting-edge simulation software. Software I'd designed myself, burning the midnight oil in my MIT dorm room, ignoring the parties and the co-eds and the siren song of the best years of my life. Who needed keg stands and tailgates when I had a dream so close I could practically taste it, an ambition that scorched through my veins like rocket fuel. Seems that single-minded focus had paid off in spades. At 27, I was the youngest self-made billionaire in tech history, the wunderkind behind the combustion engine that was changing the auto industry one fuel-efficient car at a time. And to think, it had all started with a sketch in the margins of my high school calculus book. A figment of my irrelevant imagination, brought blazing to life through blood, sweat, and lines of code. I took a slow sip of my green smoothie, the taste of kale and smug satisfaction bright on my tongue. Just like I'd always known it would be. "Mr. Halcyon?" I turned to see my assistant hovering in the doorway, her face pinched with stress. "There's a situation in the lobby. Your family is here? They're demanding to see you." I nearly choked on a chunk of chia seed. "My family? Here." I hadn't seen them since I'd blown dodge the minute the ink dried on my MIT diploma, my full ride ticket out of Palookaville. What could they possibly want now, after a decade of radio silence? A handout, most likely. A slice of the pie they'd always been so quick to mock, to dismiss. Well, tough shit. They'd had their chance to support my dreams, to see me as more than a punchline at the dinner table. They'd made their bed, lumpy mattress and all. Now it was time to lie in it. "Send them up," I said coolly, smoothing down my Italian silk tie. "Let's see what the ghosts of Christmas past have to say for themselves." A few minutes later, the door burst open and in tumbled the whole motley crew. Mom, still in her waitress blues. Dad, his janitor's uniform hanging loose on his shrinking frame. Uncle Joe and Aunt Linda, their faces ruddy and sagging. They gaped at the sleek expanse of my office, the postmodern furniture and abstract art that screamed, "Fuck you money." "Matty boy," Uncle Joe crowed, arms spread wide. "Look at you, all high and mighty. Knew you'd make something of yourself someday." I raised one imperious eyebrow. "Did you now? That's funny, because I distinctly remember you calling my dreams impossible and betting me $50 I'd be scrubbing toilets by 30. Uncle Joe's smile faltered, his eyes darting to the side. Ah, come on, I was just ribbing ya. You know I always believed in you deep down. Spare me, I spat. You're a shit liar and we both know it. You never believed in me. None of you did. You thought I was a joke, a cautionary tale, the punchline of every family gathering. I advanced on them, my designer shoes clicking on the marble. Well, the joke's on you now, isn't it? Because while you were busy writing me off, I was busy building an empire. An empire that's worth more than you'll make in 10 lifetimes of slinging hash and mopping floors. Aunt Linda gasped, her chins wobbling with affront. Now see here, young man. That's no way to speak to your elders. We may not have fancy degrees or corner offices, but we worked damn hard to put food on the table and keep a roof over your head. And I'm supposed to what? Grovel at your feet in gratitude? Kiss the ground you walk on for doing the bare fucking minimum. I laughed, harsh and hollow. News flash, you don't get a medal for keeping your kid alive. That's what you signed up for when you squirted me out. Mom made a wounded noise, her hands fluttering to her chest. Dad just stared at his shoes, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Something twisted in my chest, a rusty knife of old pain. I shoved it down, let the familiar burn of resentment cauterize the wound. What do you want? I asked flatly. I assume this isn't a social call. You here to beg for scraps from my table? To guilt-trip me into floating you alone? Well, forget it. The Bank of Halcyon is officially closed. Matty, please, Mom whispered, her eyes wet. We don't want your money. We miss you. We want to be a part of your life again. Bullshit, I snarled. You had 27 years to be a part of my life. 27 years to give a single flying fuck about my dreams, my goals, the fire burning me up from the inside out. But all you ever did was piss on the flames and call me crazy. I whirled to face my dad, my hands balled into fists. And you? You never said a goddamn word in my defense. Just sat there like a lump and let them rip me to shreds day after day, year after fucking year. Some father you turned out to be. Dad flinched like I'd slapped him, his eyes dropping to the floor. I'm sorry, son. I failed you. I know that now. I should have stood up for you, should have had your back. But I was so beaten down myself. I guess I just didn't have any fight left in me. I blinked hard against the sudden sting in my eyes. Yeah, well, too little, too late, old man. You had your chance. You all did. And you blew it. I turned my back on them, the ragged remnants of my past. I think it's time for you to go. I've got a meeting with my board in 10, and I doubt they'd be impressed by my white trash relatives dirtying up the place. Silence. Then the scuff of cheap shoes on expensive marble, the creak of the door. We love you, Matty, Mom said softly. And we're so proud of the man you've become. Even if we had nothing to do with it. Then they were gone, the ghost of their disappointment lingering like cheap perfume. I slumped against my desk, suddenly exhausted down to my bones. I should be happy, right? Vindicated. I'd proven them all wrong, had rubbed their noses in my success like a dog who'd pissed on the rug. So why did I feel so fucking empty? A polite cough jolted me out of my wallowing. I looked up to see my CFO, Ava, standing in the doorway, her sharp suit and sharper eyes taking in my slumped posture, the defeated cast of my face. Everything okay, boss? She asked, arching one perfect brow. I passed a bunch of people in the lobby who looked like extras from the Beverly Hillbillies. Don't tell me we're branching out into the hayseed demographic. I snorted, straightening my tie. Just some ghosts from my past, here to rattle their chains and demand a handout. Nothing I can't handle. Ava hummed, unconvinced. If you say so. But fair warning? The board's not going to be happy about our latest earnings report. Seems that fancy new engine of yours isn't selling as well as projected. I scowled. What do you mean? The Halcyon X is a fucking game changer. It's twice as efficient as anything else on the market and at half the price point. It should be flying off the goddamn shelves. Ava shrugged one elegant shoulder. Turns out most consumers aren't willing to shell out for an upgrade, even if it is the best thing since sliced bread. They're happy with their clunkers, as long as they get them from point A to point B. I gritted my teeth, a familiar burn building in my gut. So what, we're supposed to just sit back and let them settle? To watch our profit margins shrink while they putter along in their obsolete death traps? Of course not, Ava soothed. We just need to adjust our strategy. Focus on the luxury market, the early adopters. The ones who are willing to pay a premium for the latest and greatest. I shook my head, jaw clenched. Fuck that. The Halcyon X was supposed to be for everyone. The great equalizer. Not just another toy for the rich to jerk off with. Ava's eyes softened, a glimmer of sympathy in their cool depths. I get it, Matt. This is your baby, your brainchild. But sometimes our dreams have to evolve to survive. Adapt or die, you know? I laughed, the sound jagged in my throat. Story of my fucking life. Fine. Set up a meeting with the marketing team. We'll pivot to the 1%, squeeze them for every trust fund penny. Ava nodded crisply, already tapping away on her tablet. On it, boss. And hey, don't let the haters get you down. You've built something amazing here, something world-changing. That's more than most people can say. Then she was gone in a clacking of heels and a waft of expensive perfume, leaving me alone with my whirling thoughts. Was this really what I'd fought so hard for? What I'd sacrificed my childhood, my family, my fucking soul to achieve? A shiny tower in the valley, a few billion in the bank, and a product that was destined to gather dust in Richie Rich's garage? I thought of my parents, their faces lined with exhaustion and regret. My uncle, his bluster faded to a dull sheen of cheap whiskey. All the doubters and the naysayers who'd fueled my ambition with their scorn, their derision. Well, I'd sure shown them, hadn't I? Rubbed their noses in my success, ground their mediocrity under my Italian leather heel. And yet here I was, still hungry, still aching, still chasing the specter of their approval. The little boy, scribbling impossible dreams in the margins of his notebook, desperate to be seen, to be valued, to matter. Would it ever be enough? Would I ever be able to rest, to bask in the glow of my own accomplishments? Or would I always be that scared, angry kid, burning with something to prove? I stared out the window, the gleaming expanse of Silicon Valley stretching to the smoggy horizon. The kingdom I'd built, the empire of my own making. Was it everything I'd ever wanted? Or just another cage of my own design, the bars gilded but no less confining? I didn't know. Might never know in this life or the next. But one thing was for damn sure. I wasn't the janitor's son anymore. Wasn't the punchline, the cautionary tale, the dream deferred. I was Matthew fucking Halcyon, the billionaire, the visionary, the man who'd changed the world on his own terms. And if that wasn't enough for the ghosts of my past, well, tough shit. I had a meeting to get to.